Hello everyone, my name is FlareBlitzed and welcome back to Refraction in Universe B. I rub my eyes and look around my room, well, my alternative version anyway. I'm back in Universe B at this point. The memory of our conversations floats up into my mind and I squeeze my fists together. No, relax. There's no point in me getting upset about this. Not now anyways. Maybe I've wasted some valuable time. But I realise it now and I can get back into position. It's the start of a new work week, and with any luck, I'll make some progress on taking Anton Taylor down. I normally have classes in the morning, but I find myself not really caring about missing those right now. There are more important things to worry about, such as the structurability of the entire multiverse. I need a plan. I need to come up with a perfect strategy that can get us into Anton's office, figure out where his files are hidden, and take them. A tall order, but I'm not about to back down now. I'll think of something. As I pull my phone closer to start making a plan, I notice that I already have some unread messages. One from Gus and another one from Mitch. That's strange. I'd just been about to message about getting them together to figure things out. I get a sinking feeling as I pull up my messages and glance at what I've received. The message from Gus is short and to the point. I'm not feeling comfortable with your idea. Please take back so we can talk about it before this afternoon. And Mitch's message is a little more upbeat. Hey Jacqueline, I was wondering if you'd like to skip class and go get something to eat. We'll need to be fed and ready so a plan goes off without a hitch. Let me know if you're interested. Sheesh, looks like Jacqueline has already gotten her own plan approved and it's on its way. I really should be happy about this. It doesn't matter what the plan is as long as it gets the job done. Right? Really now, do you really know what your doppelganger is up to, Jackie? But Jacqueline, when I stare into my own eyes, they seem different than the ones I see in the mirror every morning. Somehow harder. Perhaps it's not a good idea to blindly go along with what the other me wants to do. In any case, I don't have time to talk to both of my partners before whatever's going to go down. I'll have to pick just one of them to meet with. Get fed and go with a plan. I think we shall do that. We'll go with Mitch. Although, it didn't fuzz for us, so I imagine that this is something which we have already been intertwined with. Gus sounds like he wants to talk, but I don't have time to do everything. Besides, Mitch is far more likely to slip up and give me some information about what the hell is going on. I text him back and suggest we meet him in the food court. Sorry, meet him in the food court. That's what I was trying to say. Funny, I'd done the same thing just a couple of days ago with someone else, but my concerns then had been entirely different, under different circumstances. I'm the first one to get there, so I gather my food and sit down. It doesn't take long for Mitch to join me. Sorry, were you waiting long? No, that's fine. Besides, you live over in the dorms, right? You're a lot further from the food court than I am. Mitch blushes and nods his head, digging into his food. I haven't really gotten a good chance to get to know this kid yet. I received high recommendations about his enthusiasm, and he'd been very agreeable about my mission, so that's why I included him in our team. I'm always getting the sense that he really wants to prove himself to me somehow. It's possible that he may have had an unrequited crush on me, or maybe I'm just self-centered, and he's just really passionate about becoming a better reporter. Sorry about that. Jackie, there's something I've been wanting to tell you. That's kind of why I asked to meet you here. Oh yeah, is everything alright? Oh, everything is more than alright. It's great. Not only do I have a great team to work with, but we're about to break the biggest campus story of the year. There's nothing but sunshine from this point forward. Well, he's naive, but probably in a good way. Although this mysterious plan of Jacqueline's that has suddenly made our success possible is still worrying me. I take another bite of cereal and Mitch seems to take my silence as an invitation to go on. I wanted to thank you again. I don't really have any experiences like those of President Taylor's victims. I've been lucky in that regard. but I do know what it's like to not be believed. Back home, at school, they'd always look at us each time something went wrong. I remember one time I had to spend a whole half hour trying to convince my homeroom teacher that the watch I was wearing belonged to me. She seemed to think that I was guilty of stealing it from someone until proven otherwise. I look at Mitch's face, which seems much more depressed than usual, but just like that it brightens up again. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter, that's in the past. The point is that when I see you working and fighting so hard, even making difficult decisions so that people can be believed and so that the bad guys can be caught, it's really inspiring. I'm glad that you let me tag along for this journey. He looks at me as if expecting a response, but I can't really blame him. Thank you, Midge, and you're not just tagging along, you're a big help. He blushes at that, looking away. You're just flattering me, but thank you. I hope it won't be as much help as Ivana will be this time, huh? I blink, giving Mitch a sideways glance. Wait, Ivana? My roommate? Is there another one? But yeah, your roommate. She's the key to today's plan, right? It feels like my blood turns to ice. How could she be a part of this? Mitch, why don't you tell me what we're going to do today? Just so that we're sure we're on the same page. Okay, sure. We're all going to be in our regular meeting room with the equipment for the bugs. You set up an appointment for Ivana with the president of the university for this afternoon, so she's going to go in there. Since she fits the bill of the kind of person he's been going after, we'll be able to catch him red-handed with the bugs in his office when he goes for her. My stomach still churns, as if my breakfast didn't agree with me. No, it's suddenly been repulsed. Ivana, my fresh-room homemate from Syria. She's far away from home. She's only here because of the scholarship money keeping her afloat. Both of those things put her in a vulnerable position, exactly the same kind of position that the other 5 victims of Taylor's advances were in. Oh God. What's wrong? Are you feeling sick? Ivana could go through something really horrible, couldn't she? Oh yeah, that's kind of what we're hoping for, but it's alright. She said she'd do it willingly, right? And it's for a good cause. I look up at Mitch's face. Outwardly, his words seem just as enthusiastic and positive as ever, but it feels like there's something else beneath the surface there. It's like you said yourself, there's no way that we can get to the files in his office without getting caught. So instead of proving his past crimes, we'll prove a present one. It is a trick that we're going to make him fall for. He's not worth the concept of fair play. I shiver, closing my eyes and trying to control myself. This plan is cruel. There's no way around it. We'd be asking Ivana to go through the exact kind of situation we're trying to prevent from happening ever again. She's my roommate. She trusts me. How could I do this to her? But a part of me inside feels like an idiot for worrying, and seems to rally at the undercurrent of Mitch's words. We're fighting a battle where the opponent has already broken every semblance of moral rules. Why should we fight below the belt? Exactly. Why shouldn't the ends justify the means? My mental reeling and doubting must be visible on my face, because Mitch is looking over me with worry. Are you okay? Did you eat something you're allergic to? No, Mitch, I'm fine. I think there's something else I need to do before this afternoon. I'll meet you there, okay? Okay, sure. Let me know if I can help. I nod and stand up, walking out of the food court with my thoughts all in a jumble. Not surprising. Our other version is very maniacal. My mind still feels cluttered hours later. I skipped all my classes, opting instead to just walk around the campus, trying to decide how I feel about this plan. This cruel, maybe necessary, maybe over-reliant plan. The plan that could hurt someone who trusts me. I'm sitting at the edge of a campus square as yet another class gets released for the day. I'm not located along our usual path, so thankfully June and Paul don't notice me as they start walking back after our shared lecture hour. I manage to catch a few parts of their conversation as they go. Look, it's just a thought experiment, okay? So Muslims are supposed to turn towards Mecca during their daily prayers, right? That's the basic idea, yes. And so depending on where you are, you face a different direction. People north of Mecca face south. People east of it face west. So on and so forth. You sound like you're just stating what Dr. Keane already told us. Okay, but what happens if you're standing on the point of the globe that's on the exact opposite side of the Earth? You'd be equidistant from Mecca, from at least 2 directions or probably more, right? What direction do you face then? Do you get to choose or something? I'm pretty sure that the place you're talking about is in the middle of the ocean, and thus it shouldn't ever actually come up. But wait, at that place it would actually be a shorter distance through the centre of the Earth to Mecca, right? So then you would face down towards the ground. I feel like this conversation is probably offensive to practitioners of Islam somehow. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. Jacqueline. I jump, my attention pulling away from my friends and back to myself. Ivana was standing in front of me. She always seems quiet to me, but right now she looks downright meek. Ivana. Oh hey Ivana, glad you made it. Shall we head over now? She nods her head and we walk towards our meeting room, meshing in with the rest of the crowd. Neither of us talks much, and it feels like there's some kind of wall of chilly air between us as we move forward. She's the first to try and pass through it. Jacqueline, I don't want to back out of this. You told me what this could do for you and others, and I agreed to participate. Yeah? But I can't say that I'm not nervous. This man sounds quite monstrous from how you described him. Are you sure I'll be safe? I promise. The moment that things go bad, I'll be nearby to come and get you. We're not going to let you get hurt. Thank you. I'll be happy that you're there at least. Something about her words sounds like she's not convinced. Certainly, if Taylor tries to physically attack her, we'll stop him. But can I really promise that she won't get hurt at this point? If he threatens her, if he tells her to do certain things, can I just sit back and let that happen? Even if it is for a greater good? It seems like we're early. Neither Gus nor Mitch have shown up yet, but the secretary is there, sitting at one end of the table and fiddling with a few pieces of technical hardware. What's his name now? Jackie. I'm guessing those are the receivers that the bugs will send their data to. Ugh. Is it Pete? Pete sounds like it should be close. I just can't handle this guy's name straight. Can't get this guy's name straight. Trying to cut my losses, I leave Ivan at the window and walk up to him. So how is everything looking? He looks up at me, pulling off a pair of headphones and sitting down his note-taking pencil. The signal from here is at least 80%. The signal from at least 80% of the bugs are strong. We won't have any trouble recording what's going on in that room. Well, that's good to hear. At least, but what about the 20% which could be the vital difference? If I may ask. Yes? You seem a lot different than you did yesterday. Yesterday you were fierce and determined. Today you seem unsure. I blush a bit, juggling excuses in my head. I don't even know the secretary that well. I'm not about to confess my universe-hopping experiences to him now. Actually, I'm a bit surprised he even noticed. His mind usually seems to be elsewhere. I've been thinking a lot about the plan, wondering whether it's the right way to go. Well, it doesn't matter. What? He looks at me innocently. I apologize if I was unclear. It doesn't matter from my perspective. I'll follow your plan no matter what it is. I nod my head a bit. This guy can feel a little off when I talk to him. May I offer you some advice, though? Sure, if you want. Data shows that a majority of the time failure comes from indecision, not from poor original concepts. It's your decision to which strategy you decide to play in this case, but no matter what happens, you need to choose first. Make a choice and choose wisely. Thank you. I'll do my best. Well, that wasn't weird at all. Exactly. I turn away as the doors open behind me, letting the other 2 members into the room. Gus takes up a position next to Ivana and asks her a question, which Mitch bounds over to us, looking at the equipment excitedly. He reaches out to touch one of the panels with a green switch, but the secretary waves his hand away. I realise I'm technically the leader of our group, so it's probably my responsibility to try and bring things to order. Well, does anyone have anything else to say before we start? Neither Gus nor Mitch say anything out loud, but I can easily read their feelings on their faces. Yes, Gus is definitely a nervous chap. Gus wants me to abort the mission. Mitch wants me to go full steam ahead. I can't disagree entirely with both of them. I can see the benefit of Jacqueline's plan, even as I wince at the repercussions of it. Ivana looks at me, waiting for me to say something. She appears resolved, like a defendant waiting for her sentence in front of a judge. The choice is up to me. I can stop this if I want to. But do I? The world freezes. The edges of my vision gather together into foggy clouds. A faint, insistent sort of music rings in the back of my head. I close my eyes and grit my teeth. My difficult choice has suddenly had a wrench thrown into it. This again. This strange situation that's been happening to me daily, each time right before I make an important decision. I open my eyes and glance around, walking around the room, peering in every direction. Time stays frozen, and all I can catch a glimpse of is more clouds, making strange motions in the distance. Jacqueline had claimed she's able to see me at these moments, which is how she knows which choice I'm going to make. Is she standing there in her version of this room as well, waiting for me to make my move first? Is Jacqueline being forced to choose opposite of me? Like I theorize, maybe it's far more petty than that. Maybe she's deliberately choosing whatever I choose I don't take up. But why would she do that? What purpose would it serve? I have to be careful here. Two universes are going to be affected. I could choose to spare Ivana here, but that would mean that the Ivana in Universe A, my home universe, would be forced to go ahead with the plan. Which we would prefer not to. I can go ahead with the plan here in order to spare my Ivana, but that would still hurt the Ivana in front of me right now. If I decided it's the right decision to go ahead with the plan, then I can only make it happen in one of these universes. Enough, I have to choose. I have to make a choice. Let's see about that one then. We are going to let Ivana go to the meeting with Anton Taylor. As I announce my intention to go ahead with the plan, Gus's face turns red with anger, and he storms out of the room. I suppose that means he won't be helping us from here on. Mitch volunteers to stay behind with the secretary to help him with the recording. I agree to escort Ivana across the way to the administrative building and stick around in case she needs help. As we leave the room, I whisper softly to her, "I'm sorry." She turns and gives me a polite smile. It feels like my soul is being torn in two. And she slowly fades away from there too. We have an objective here. To bring down this tyrant. This horrible tyrant. The plan goes off without... Actually, all tyrants are horrible. The plan goes off without a hitch. I'm not sure what Ivana is planning on talking about in there. And I'm not in the meeting room to listen to the recording. I don't get a message from Mitch telling me that she needs my help. And after a little while, she exits the room. I try to ask her how it went when she passes me. But she doesn't look at me. Quickly walking away before I can say anything else. Mitch tells me there was some very useful events in the room, but that they'd need some time to figure out which ones had recording well and which ones hadn't. I'll tell him to work on that with the secretary. I don't want to see it. So it did happen then, but the recordings need to be looked over. I open my eyes, looking around me. This place is getting downright familiar now. Very familiar. It's a pattern. The movement of the colours and lights seems even slower than before, allowing me to pick out shapes I hadn't recognised in the past. Jacqueline has her arms crossed as we are getting within talking distance. She's also the first one to speak. Last night, we were the first ones to speak. You surprised me. I didn't think you had it in you. I'm not the one who came up with the idea, you sick blank. No, but you're the one who went through with it. Perhaps I misjudged your ability to do what needs to be done. Oh gosh, I grind my teeth and glare at her. Did we fall right into her trap then? And what about you? Did you proceed with the plan as well? Her steely gaze falters for a bit, and she looks down. I knew it, it was your plan, and yet you still did the opposite what I did when the choice came. Are you still going to claim that you're not always making the opposite decision? You're seeing things that aren't there again. I simply realized that my plan, though bold, still wasn't enough to take Tyler down, so I regrouped. You again with that smiling, smeary look on your face, Jacqueline. That is not a smile that I love. It sounds like a lame excuse. Isn't this proof that our actions are always equal and opposite? We lightly bump against each other as we pass. You have a new plan. Another sick and twisted idea in that head of yours. Haven't you hurt enough people? Haven't you done enough, you blank? Ooh. I jump in surprise as Jacqueline's body snaps, her hand grabbing the front of my shirt and pulling my face close. Ooh. Gosh. The calm and cocky face she's been putting on has cracked into a visage full of anguish and anger. Are you kidding me? How can I ever do enough? How can you ever be content to say that you've done enough? The force of the movement is still pulling us apart, and Jacqueline's grip tightens. You can't justify doing anything you want for some goal's sake. Don't blank me. I know that you know what I'm talking about. I see it on your wrist. She holds up her own right hand, points to a scar there, exactly one to the one I have. We were content to do nothing until we found out that you could still get hurt that way. Why don't you understand? Why can't you see it? The force of our movement finally tears us apart. What did he say that day? What he did to me? What am I doing? I try to think ahead of the conversation, and it just does that. What he did that day. What he did to me is unforgivable. What he? Who? What do you mean? My doppelganger is almost crying as she moves into the distance. Taylor? How can you show any mercy? Stop any thought? Show any shame when the monsters are still out there? Stop living in your pretend world of justice and righteousness. It doesn't exist. Fight. Damn you, why don't you fight? She's still yelling at me as she disappears, her words echoing incoherently in the empty space. Apologies for that, folks. I try and read ahead of a sentence just to make sense of it, and then I somehow don't make any sense myself of that. Oh, that definitely is much slower now. It used to be instantaneous, but now it is 2 universes affected. I can't do it. Not today. I turned the alarm off and tossed my phone into a corner, rolling back under the covers. Eventually I'd get up and have some breakfast. Normally I'd see Yvonne in the kitchen at some point, but she's not there. In fact, she doesn't seem to be in the apartment at all. I do ultimately find a note she's left for me. In it, she thanks me for my decision not to let her go to that meeting with President Taylor yesterday. She also says that she's going away for a few days to clear her head and think about things, but that she'll contact me soon. I picture the scene from yesterday in the other universe, where I sent Ivana into Taylor's office. Feeling sick to my stomach, I crumple the note up and throw it away. I have class to attend, homework to turn in, people to talk to, but I ignore all of them. I just go back and lie on my bed. All of this is making me feel exhausted and nauseous. The decisions I've had to make feel like shards of lead that have been embedded into my limbs, pulling them down with the weight. I don't know how I can move forward. I don't even know which decision is the right one to face. What is Jacqueline planning on doing next? Will I agree with her? Or will I think she's gone too far? Will I be able to stop her from doing something that we can't come back from? And do I want to stop her? I sigh and close my eyes, try to take a nap and at least give my brain a few hours to rest from this torture. The sleep evades me. We've got things to do during the day. Noon passes, and the early afternoon hours creep on. My phone buzzes with a few messages, but I don't bother to look at them. Maybe my inaction will force Jacqueline to stop whatever she's doing. Maybe I can make things better if I just don't stick my nose into things in the first place. Wow. Early in the evening, I hear a knock on my bedroom door. I sit up. Has Ivana come back? I need to talk to her. Come in. The door opens, but it's not Ivana who steps in my room. It's Paul. He steps in with a worried look on his face, glancing around the room before he catches me on the bed. Jackie, what's wrong? I've been sending you messages, but you didn't reply. I haven't seen you in days. My gut twists in confusion. Part of me is so relieved to see him here. Part of me just wants to be left alone. The combination makes it difficult for me to respond. I was sort of expecting to demand answers, but instead he closes my bedroom door, stepping carefully over the mess and sitting himself down in the nearby chair. He claps his hands in front of him, not saying anything. I sit up on the bed and take a few deep breaths, trying to compose both my emotions and my thoughts. It's been hard. The other version of myself is taking steps I haven't agreed to and putting me in hard positions when I'm at least expecting them. Is there anything I can do to help? I don't know, Paul. I really don't know why or how any of this is happening. He nods his head softly, sitting up. Well, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. I'll let you be. I quickly grab his hand as he tries to stand, clutching onto it like I'm hanging off the edge of a cliff. No, Paul! Please don't go! With a bemused expression, he sits himself back down. I don't let go of his hand. We sit there in silence, for a few moments as the past week's events check in my head. Paul, why do you run away? Jackie, what are you talking about? I'm not running away from anything. Yes, you are. I know that you feel about me the same way I feel about you. Paul shifts uncomfortably in his seat. What makes you think that? I think back on the experiences I've had with Paul in the last few days. Both with this one and the near exact copy in the other universe. I felt it from you, from the way we've talked over the past few days, from the way we've looked at each other. When you asked me to come and look at your carving you'd made, I could see it in your eyes. When I hugged you after I told you what was going on, I felt you stiffen up, but you hugged me back all the same. When we went to church together, we were so close. And you looked so pained when you pulled your hand away after I tried to hold it. Am I wrong about how you feel? Paul rubs the back of his head, looking away from me, down at the floor. But you haven't been with just me all this time. You went to that other universe, with another person who only looks like me. I wince softly, biting my lip and looking down as well. Maybe. But even if you're two different people, you're both still Paul. I don't have any control about which universe I'm in, but I do have a say in who I spend my time with. I chose to spend it with you in the best way that I could. I don't know what to say, Jackie. At least say something, please. It takes him a while to speak, but I wait nonetheless. He needs to be one who starts this time. Well, you're right about one thing. I do have feelings for you. I can feel my fingers clenching together, but I try to stay calm. Then tell me, why do you run away? Because I know better than to let someone like you waste yourself on someone like me. That's not true, Paul. Spending time with you is not a waste of time. It is time that is worth it. What? You ass! That's not your decision to make! No, it's not. But it's my responsibility to not let you make the choice based on false information. Who the hell cares about that? I do. Haven't you been listening at all? Do you know how important choices are to make? How much I think that they can have an effect on your life? I lean back, surprised by the anger I hear in Paul's voice. I appear to have poked a hole in him, and the water is flowing through. He continues to look at the ground when he speaks. Every day I came from school, and how I saw my dad in his easy chair drinking a beer and watching a game. And I saw my mother in the kitchen preparing dinner for us. My father wasn't a bad man. He provided for us and looked after us. But he had no drive. No passion. Aside from his occasional carpentry projects, he was about as boring as they came. We barely even interacted with each other. He tried to teach me some things, but it wasn't clear that we didn't share any interests, so he ignored me. I was fine though. I could handle that small problem. But my mother, she used to be so vibrant, so full of energy, so excited to change the world. So much like you. But she fell in love with my father, and thus spent every day of her life doing housework and cooking food. She loved her family, and she would have been happy with her life if there had been some kind of spark there. My father's dull nature prevented her from going out like she wanted to. Paul, it's not the same. Damn it, Jackie, it is the same thing. When he died, I saw the last bits of life fade from her eyes. She'd lost all her vigour, and the last bits of her that had energy were focused on making him happy. Now that he's gone, she barely even manages to get up in the morning. You're not your dad. But I am. Look at me. On the weekends I spend a quiet evening at church. When I have some free time I go and do carpentry by myself. But Paul, you have the passion about that. I don't do anything interesting. I don't say anything interesting. Paul, you're not your father. You are blood related to your father, you have similarities to your father, but you're not your father, and you're not your mother. I'm boring, Jackie, and the twisted part is that I know that I'm not going to change, no matter what I do. If you get involved with me, you could end up with all the light I see inside of you snuffed out too. Paul, stop it. I close my eyes and breathe out, try to organise my thoughts and feelings. Paul is upset. I shouldn't do anything to rile him up further, but I'm upset too. My feelings count for something in all of this. You're forgetting about my say in all this. I told you, I can't let you make a decision without... And why can't you? What makes you think that you know better than me? What makes you think that you see things I don't, huh? Paul blinks, looking at my face, red face with a surprised glance. Jackie, I didn't mean to. You always say that choices are important, right? That they can change things drastically. Then why don't you let me make my own choice? Change things the way that I want to. I like you, Paul. But I'm boring. God damn it, Paul, don't you get it? I like boring. We love boring. We love simple. But simple doesn't mean boring. He gasps. His glass is slipping a bit from his nose, like my words are exerting a physical force. I like the way that you stand there and listen quietly until you have something to say. I like how passionate you are about your religion and studies. I like that you have a personal hobby of making little carvings in your spare time. I like the way that you smile when someone says something amusing, even if it's not enough to make you laugh. I have no right to talk about what your parents did or didn't feel, but I have a right to talk about what I feel. It doesn't matter to me that our time together isn't exciting or spontaneous or unexpected. All I want is to spend it with you. That's all I want. I pant softly. That onslaught of words caused me to run out of breath. Paul continues to look down. I clench my fists in my lap. Did I say the wrong thing? Is he going to hate me now? Finally he turns his gaze back up to me, and the tears in his eyes reflect light through the lenses of his glasses. Aww. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that you would think that I was worth that much. Ah. Goodness sakes, that's given me a few tears as well. We stare at each other, speechless. It almost feels like someone else is moving my body as I lean forward, my fingers interlacing with his trembling hands. Ah. I feel the tears sliding down his cheek, but he doesn't pull away. Ah. The bed is only a twin, so it's a bit of a squeeze to have two people lying next to each other in it. But we make it work. I wonder how the other universe's counterpart's going to react to this, knowing that she'll wake up and she'll be next to someone that she doesn't have the same feelings for. The light outside is dimmed to almost nothing by now. It feels like any separation between me and Paul has vanished. We're just two instances of the same person. Almost like Jacqueline and I, but somehow in a stronger way. Both of us have been talking a lot, telling each other about things that we never mentioned to anyone else before. And now I'm telling him everything that I've been doing. About how for the past year I've been working on getting the truth about President Taylor to the public. About the way I work with, about the people I work with. About the plans we've made. About Jacqueline's attempts to make things go her own way. But I don't talk about Ivana. It's too raw for me to talk about that, even to him. As usual, Paul is an excellent listener as I talk. He wraps his arms around me as I finish summarizing things to him. What you're doing is really noble, Jackie, but it's also really dangerous. It could go very badly very fast. I know. But that's what you have to deal with sometimes in this profession. Danger is a part of the job. I thought that you'd say that you're, like, boring. I give him a look and see him smirking at me, then push him softly. You dork, you know that's not what I meant. I know. But why? Why what? You've been chasing the story for a whole year, neglecting anything else you could be pursuing. That's a level of dedication that's hard to match. So why is this so important to you? Automatically, my left hand moves around to rub the scar on my right wrist. Paul notices, reaching around with his own hand to touch the same place. It happens during my second semester here. Taylor. Did Taylor do this to you? I'd been doing some homework downtown to try and get a few reactions of the story assignment I was working on. By the time I got to the bus stop and boarded the bus, it was really late. It was almost empty. The words seemed to be just slipping out of my mouth one at a time. For an experience that I'd never described to anyone, my recounting is remarkably clear. Maybe it's because of how much I ruminated on it since. After a few stops, it was just me and another guy on the bus. The driver wasn't focusing on us, just on driving. The man came and sat next to me, then started asking me personal questions. I tried to tell him to back off, but more I resisted, the more interested he got. Oh no. It wasn't long before he tried to force me into a kiss. I did my best to scream and get away, but he was stronger than me. His fingernails were long and unkempt. When I tried to pull away, they sliced into my wrist as he hung on. Ugh. I reach up and wipe at my eyes, noticing the wetness for the first time. It didn't go any further than that. My scream alerted the bus driver and the man backed off when someone else's attention was on him. He got off at the next stop. My mouth felt like it's completely dry, but I tried to continue. I know that other people haven't been as lucky as I was. I got away before anything really bad happened to me. But other people have been sexually assaulted. Even so, as I looked at my hand as it started to bleed from a cut, I just felt this immense sense of guilt. Like I had somehow been the one to do something wrong. I didn't tell anyone about this, but I guess I've been searching for some way to react ever since then. To do something. Anything to prevent things like that from happening to other people. When I heard the stories about Anton Taylor and listened to the victims' reports, knowing that it was true, I found it. We lie there next to each other in silence for a little while. I've never been through anything like that. I'm sorry, Jackie. I thought I understand a little bit of why you feel this way. Thanks. It's good to finally tell it to someone. And I sympathize with your goals, I really do. I think that people who take advantage of other people should be punished accordingly. But I have to ask that you be careful. Of course, I will. I don't go into my reporting recklessly. Not that. I may not know what it's like to be in your shoes, but I know what it's like to be angry. To feel like you want to punch back after you've been hit, but that anger could blind you. It can make you justify things that you would normally refuse to even think about. Paul Taylor is guilty. I can't just let him get away with it. I know. But think about how much trouble you've had with the other version of you. How much she's been fighting with you about how to approach things. It sounds to me like she's given in to her anger in a frightening way. She could end up doing more evil than she's trying to prevent. And I don't want to see you do that. Yeah, it's like fighting fire with fire. It just does not bolt out. I nod my head, turning around to smile at Paul, and gave him a short kiss. I won't. I promise. Thank you. After a few moments he looks at me, his glasses glinting. You know, I guess the Bible is thinner than usual tonight. Wait, what? He grinned mischievously. Oh, it's just an old saying from my old church. Kids are supposed to keep a Bible distance between their bodies when they first start courting each other. But here we are, squeezed up against each other like this. I guess God's going to have to be more brief than usual. He couldn't fit more than just a page, just a few words. I think he'd only need a few words, something perfect, just for this moment. Oh, and what words would they be? Would it something to do with, I love you? But he just smiles and doesn't reply. Before I know it, I've fallen fast asleep, cradling Paul's warmth, understanding embrace. Doing this again. Jacqueline's face is much calmer than the last time she saw me. Apparently she's composed herself. Well, so have I. We need to stop this, Jacqueline. We need to talk to each other, come up with a plan. We can't keep fighting each other like this. She gives me a smirk, crossing her arms. Speak for yourself. I'm perfectly happy with the current situation. I thought that I'd only be able to bring Anton Taylor down in one universe, and now I have a chance to do it in two places at once. I know why you're so desperate. The bus. That guy. I managed to stop it in my universe, but you... I hardly think that this is the time to go digging up the past. I'm sorry, Jacqueline. Did you not have enough strength in you to have the conviction to stop him? I know that what happened hurt you, but you need to stop doing this. Taylor deserves to lose his position and go to prison, but not at the expense of innocent people. Oh, he deserves far more than that, and I'm going to make sure that he gets it. I feel chill as we approach each other, looking into those hard eyes. What are you talking about? Come on. You've had the same realization as I've had at some point. None of this actually matters. If we can prove that Taylor assaulted students, then what? He'll lose his job? You know full well that people in power watch each other's backs. There's no way that will happen. He'll get in trouble with the school. At worst, he retires with a full pension. He'll go to jail. Some slimy lawyer will figure out some technicality to let him go. Even if he's convicted, he'll spend his jail time in some cushy rich people place with golfing and rowboats. It won't even feel like a punishment. It doesn't matter if the truth comes out, Jackie. Justice won't be done. But then what are you trying to do? The same thing you are, only more effectively. The system isn't going to punish him, so I have to do it with myself, with maximum pain, with that smirk on your face. It's my turn to grab her as we pass each other, putting our faces together. I'm boiling with a mixture of rage and terror. What did you do? What have you done? Oh gosh, she looks away from me, as calm as always. What have you done? You must have noticed it as well, the fact that we're slowing down. It's like whatever's making us switch places is running out of energy. I'd say this is probably the last time. The last time we switch places. Tomorrow night, we'll travel back to our own universes, and then we'll never see each other again. What does that have to do with... Once I realised that, I knew I had to act fast. Luckily, I've been playing on this as a backup from the beginning. Those bugs planted in Taylor's office are small, and no one really knows what they look like. It wasn't hard to connect something else to them before they went out. Oh my god. The current pulls us apart, but our eyes seem to stay right in front of mine. By this time tomorrow, it will be over. In both of our universes. Anton Taylor will be put to justice like he deserves. The only justice that he deserves. The justice of death. You're insane. You are insane. You'll thank me for this. Someday. We've drifted too far apart again. For once, my mind is too full of possibilities and fears for me to desire the unconsciousness that comes for me. But it comes all the same. Who will we have next to each other? Day 8. Ooh. There could also be another ending where somehow we stay halfway in between the travel. Like a secret ending. My eyes flicker open, and I squint. The light from the nearby window shines directly between my eyelashes. That doesn't usually happen. I'm typically up too early to have things shining in my eyes like that. I look over at my bedside table, but my phone isn't there. Oh sheesh, I must have forgotten to turn it back on after shutting it off yesterday. I end up sleeping in way too late, and I'm going to be late for my classes. Wait a second. That doesn't make sense. I'm in Universe B now. I left the alarm on in Universe A, so that if the alarm's off here, then the one who turned it off was... I sit bolt upright. My entire body feels like it's been hit by a lightning bolt. All the memories of yesterday pouring back into me at once, and Jacqueline's declaration hits harder than all of the rest combined. I quickly pull myself to my feet and start rushing around the apartment looking for where my phone ended up, tossing items around without much thought for where they land. I'm completely alone in the apartment. Ivana hasn't come back, and Paul apparently left while I was asleep. I had thought that he would wake up before now, honestly. I hear the distinctive sound of a Dean bouncing off the apartment walls, and while I stick my head into the kitchen, where my phone is sitting out in the open on the table. Of course it is. One place I forgot to look is the most obvious place in the entire apartment. I quickly scoop it up and check it. It's a message from Mick. Where are you? You don't want to miss this. I'll dial back and look at any other messages I may have missed. There's another one from Mitch that came in earlier this morning. My fingers tremble as I read it. Everything's been set up for the big day. He'll be in his office at noon. Once he's sitting down at his desk, we'll make a nice boom, just like he said. Make sure you meet me here beforehand, then. So that's it. Mitch's text and Jacqueline's comments tell me all I need to know. Boom. Jacqueline hid explosives on the bugs before Gus planted them. With the push of a button, Anton Taylor's office will go up in flames, with him in it. But it doesn't make sense. Why didn't I see this message on the new messages screen? To delay your reaction. Someone else must have read the message before me, but it was sent this morning, so it couldn't have been Jacqueline. I glanced at the clock. Sheesh, I dart back into my room, pulling whatever clothes I could find on my body. I don't have much time. There's only one place that Mitch could have set himself up, but one place that's private to our group, and that has a clear view of Taylor's office through the window. I burst into the meeting room just a minute before noon, panting and placing my hands on my knees. Mitch is standing there at the window, looking out intently. In his hands, he's holding one of the receivers from the bugs I'd seen the secretary using before, the one with the green switch. His index finger is hovering over it in anticipation. He turns to look at me as I burst in, a smile covering his face. Jacqueline, you made it. I was worried you missed a big event. Mitch, stop. You have to stop. Put that thing down. He gives me a confused look, and I see his fingers tightening on the device. Don't tell me you're changing your mind again. We're so close. He's in there right now. I glance out the window, where Anton Taylor seems to be taking his lunch into his office. I turn back to Mitch and he's giving me a fierce look, grin widening. No. No. This isn't the way to do it. There has to be another way. You told me yourself, didn't you, when I said the same thing? You said that this is the only way to get justice. The only way to show them that we mean business. They won't listen to us if we just try to do things the normal way. But now they have to listen to us. I stare at Mitch, whose eyes seem to be darting back and forth between Taylor and myself too quickly. Damn it, how have I missed it? I spent all my time trying to figure out what was going on with myself to notice that Jacqueline has been talking to Mitch, easing him into her ideas. He'd been enthusiastic and ready to help, and she twisted that, playing him against his own mind until she turned his enthusiasm into heedless rage. I stepped closer to him, holding out my hands out. Think about this, Mitch. Is this really the kind of man you want to become? He winces as I step closer again, drawing up against the glass of the window. A look of unsureness passes over his face. What else are we supposed to do? They'll never punish him. We'll never be believed. How can we keep going if no one ever believes us? I know, Mitch. I know it's hard, but you have to stop this now. Like hell I will. He tries to pull the switch, but I manage to ease close enough to him. I charge forward, tackling him into the ground and causing the device to roll away. I tense up, but it skitters to a halt face up, the switch unclicked. I look around for someone to help me, but we're the only two people here. Not even the secretary is around. How had Mitch managed to get his hands on the switch all by himself? He claws at me, attempting to grab it again, but I push him down, pinning him to the floor as best as I can. I reach over and carefully pick up the device. It feels a lot heavier in my hand than I thought it would. A split-second thought crosses my mind. Jacqueline wasn't lying. I'd thought about what might happen when the story broke, how the president might end up not punished at all. The idea fills me with white-hot rage. All that work, all that sacrifice, and he'd still get away. I look down at the switch, wondering, if only for a moment, if this is the right thing to do. Then I look back at the window, over at Taylor's door again, and freeze. Taylor's no longer sitting at his desk, he's standing by it, shocked and staring at the door. Someone's barged into his office and is yelling something at him. Oh my. Paul! The already viewed message on my phone. Paul must have stayed over at my place last night in his universe, just like he did in my own. He'd woken up before me, he'd seen the message Mitch had sent about the president going boom, and he'd left. Maybe he thought that things had gotten out of my control. Maybe he just thought that I was sneaking around behind his back, planning on causing an explosion without him knowing. Either way, he'd been trying to stop it from happening, and he'd finally gone to the man himself to try and convince him that he was in danger. If Paul is doing this here, is he doing the same thing in my universe? Is he? Right now in a different dimension, standing in the exact same spot. Oh, no. No. Not now, not now! What do? Who can I save? And who has to die? God damn it all. Don't press the switch. Gritting my teeth, I grab the device's cord and rip it out, preventing the switch from sending its signal. What have you done? You've ruined everything! I let the box fall to the floor, collapsing onto my knees. I can see the president hurrying out of the room, followed by Paul. Then in the other universe, then our loved one will be destroyed, along with Taylor. They're safe. The authorities will search the room and disarm the bombs before too long. I saved them here. But what about in my own world? I clench my fists and scream, slamming them to the ground, feeling as if I could crush the entire building in my anguish. Holding the ball on the floor, I tremble and feel the terror washing over me until unconsciousness finally has mercy. And here we are again. My entire body feels numb. The movement around me is extremely sluggish, like the force pushing me has almost run out of juice, like it's finally given up. So I think here We both got something that we didn't want, inevitably. Jacqueline has her arm on her wrist as we approach each other, looking rather annoyed. Ugh. Already? I didn't even fall asleep. Did you faint or something? I don't think it would switch us unless we're both unconscious. My mouth seems to be forming words that my brain is hearing for the first time. Why? Why did you tell me what you were going to do? You could have just let it happen. She stares at me for a few moments, tapping my chin. I don't really know. Maybe in the end I wanted to see what you would do, what choice you would make when it really came down to it. We pass each other without incident. I tightly ball up my fist, tears squeezing out of the corners of my eyes. I couldn't save them. I couldn't save them both. I had to make a choice, knowing that you would do whatever I didn't. You made me. You made me into a monster, no matter what I picked. There's a heavy silence between us. She seems to be giving me a contemplative stare. Only you could make yourself a monster, not me. And what did you do? What did you do? You killed him. I couldn't save. She seems to have a small smile on her face as she disappears into the distance. I already told you. My choices are my own. You don't control me. Really now, alternative one. As I approach the other end of the rushing space, it feels like everything is coming to a grinding halt. Ooh, the colours lose their vibrant hues. The lights stop blinking. For a moment, everything is completely still, like a magnificent painting of some fantastic universe. Then, the lights just seem to fade all at once, and I join them in the darkness as I fall unconscious for a final time. Oh. Oh. Are you sure that they will meet the other side? Oh. I thought so. There is something else going on. I groan, feeling the aching in my muscles as I come to. A consciousness forces its way in. I squeeze my eyes shut, curling up even more. I don't want to look. I don't want to see what I've done. I had spared Taylor in Jacqueline's universe, and she had done the opposite and killed him in mine, along with a person I had barely confessed my feelings to. The room is awfully quiet. I can't hear any loud sounds outside either. Eventually I woke up with the courage to open my eyes. I'm alone in here, trembling. I stand up, then shiver as I look out the window. The building across from mine is spotless. No smoke nor fire. No bodies. A team of people in dark clothing are currently in the president's room, sweeping through it to look for the bugs. I blink, and then I blink again. She hadn't pressed a switch. Jacqueline hadn't pressed a switch. But why? Why would she go through all this trouble to get what she wanted, and then give it up at the last minute? Why didn't she choose to be opposite of me, like she always had done? She'd watched me destroy the device, but then, had I not switched over, have I been left in Jacqueline's universe? But no, I saw her switch over, and she told me I couldn't control her actions. The door behind me opens and I turn. Paul is standing there. My Paul from my universe. Alive. Safe. Before I knew it, I've thrown the table aside. I've been held into his arms, sobbing, squeezing him tight enough to burst. Ah. Ah. I'm ready to face whatever consequences may come from this. Maybe I hadn't really been the person to set all this up, but in a way I had. Even if it was an angrier and more bold version of me, it was still me. I may have prevented the bombs from going off, but once they traced them back to us, we would still be in serious trouble. No matter what, I'm just glad that it's over. But then, the SWAT team reports back. They found no bombs. They didn't even find any bugs. The room is completely clean. It's not possible, is it? So rather than going to the room to stop the switch, somehow we got back the bugs from that room before Taylor got into it. I know that those bugs were placed. I know that Jacqueline made sure that both worlds had her set up. But it had all just vanished, like it never existed in the first place. Of course, given their increasingly invasive search, I found myself hoping that they'll come across evidence to prove President Taylor's guilt. It would be a relief for something good to come out of all this terror, a silver lining. But honestly, I'm just too tired to think about it right now. I set my fingers lightly on the glass window, gazing down at the empty office below me. It's amazing how fragile it seems to the touch, as if just a small push in the wrong direction could send it toppling to the street below to shatter into shards. Surprising how quick my perception of things changed. You know, I didn't just reserve the window for this room. There's more than enough chairs for everyone here. I chuckled, turning my head to see Gus entering the room. I don't remember calling for us to meet today. You didn't. I just happened to be walking past this exact room on this exact floor, and I decided to come inside for a whim. Total coincidence. He grins, stepping up next to me at the window and peering down at the building across from us. Besides, I sort of got the impression that the rest of the meetings were cancelled until further notice. I sigh and cross my arms. He's not exactly wrong, of course. We had been lucky, uncannily lucky, that those explosions had vanished without a trace. Without them, there's nothing substantial implicating me or my team. Well, implicating Jacqueline really, but I doubt the authorities would accept an explanation involving travelling between universes in my sleep. No, because you have no proof. To be honest, I was sort of expecting you to exclude yourself from the meetings from now on. What? And skip out on the most interesting and unpredictable part of my life? Seriously, Gus, I know that you've been angry and worried over the past few days. I've made some decisions that are frankly unforgivable. I wouldn't blame you if you never wanted to talk to me again. He doesn't respond immediately, but when he does, I can hear a softness in his voice. You have done some things that I disagree with recently. That's true. Some things unforgivable. Installing bugs, your plan with your roommate, and I can't tell you how angry I was yesterday that I heard the rumours about the bomb threat. You have apologies to make, and things that you have to try to fix, even if you never can. But in the end, Jackie, you stopped. You turned around and came back from it all, and even if it's small, it's enough for me. For now. I sigh, crossing my arms and gazing out the window. I'm glad that you at least feel that way. I'm not sure if I'll ever find a way to repair my relationship with Ivana. And I haven't been able to get in contact with Mitch since I saw him yesterday. He's ignoring my texts and my calls. Have you talked to him? He's been avoiding me too, but he'll come around. I don't know, Gus. You didn't see him yesterday. I don't know if he's ever going to forgive me for stopping him. Mitch is passionate about what he believes in. Right now, that means that his anger is all he can focus on. But I think that he has a good heart despite everything. He'll come to see that you've made the right decision in the end. Maybe. Though I doubt he'll be assisting us with the investigation anytime soon. I guess that means we're down to 2 recruits, huh? Huh? Wait. Has the secretary decided to stop helping as well? Gus rubs the back of his head, looking perplexed. He's vanished, Jackie. No one's seen him since last Monday. Not his roommates, not his teachers, nobody. It's like he suddenly decided to take a trip and didn't tell anyone. That's sort of bizarre. It's almost like he has some knowledge about the hopping experiences. This is unexpected. I've always known the secretary to be mysterious and keep to himself most of the time, but I've never heard of him just vanishing like that. He's usually considered quite reliable and predictable, I can't help but wonder if it has something to do with Jacqueline's final plan. He had been the one to get us the bugs for Taylor's office, after all. Taylor, even after everything we'd been through, all those scars and dangerous moments, we're not even one step closer to our goal. I've been sure that he's been hiding proof of his illicit actions in his office somewhere, but the investigators didn't turn up anything when they had combed his office up and down for threats. Apparently he had never kept items of that nature there, or perhaps he moved them to a safer location before yesterday, like a vault. So, what's going to be our next step? Next step? You mean you're still going to help? What? You think that just because you've been walking on the line of illegal activities, lost half of your crew and didn't find the evidence you were looking for, that's good enough reason to quit? Who are you and what have you done with the real Jackie? We both laughed quietly. Then I feel him putting a supporting hand on my shoulder. I don't always act it, Jackie, but I do care about what you're trying to do. I believe in it. And I know that if anyone is going to be able to bring Taylor down for what he's done, then it's going to be you. Thanks, Gus. That really does mean a lot to me. I turn away from the window to look at him with a grin. Although the idea of me not being the real Jackie isn't quite as silly as you might think. This sounds like a story I've have to hear. I'm not exactly sure how to tell it, but I guess I should start at the beginning. Okay, we both sat down at the table. Our conversation and plans for the future lasting long into the night. Next step. The blindfold itches against my eyes. I have a sneaky suspicion that there's somewhat sawdust trapped in it. Has some sawdust. Okay. Can I take it off yet? I'm pretty sure that I know what I know where you're taking me. It's not the destination that's a surprise. Keep it on. I sigh, squeezing Paul's hand tightly as he leads me forward, moving around suspicious spaces as we go. Spaces the shape and size of handicraft stations. Eventually he helps me to sit down in a chair. I hear the scraping sound of another chair being pulled up to face mine, and then he takes off the blindfold. Ah, he's sitting across from me with that stupid smile on his face. Oh wow, it's you! At the carpentry station. Surprise! I don't think I can quite catch that sarcasm, Jackie. I'll try to make it more overt next time. Paul slides himself in closer, taking my hand. So, you're sure that... Yes, Paul, I'm sure. I'll probably still worry about being too boring for you, you know. But you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Then I'll keep telling you that it's what I want, no matter how many times it takes. He nods his head and smiles. There's enough appreciation between us already that he doesn't have to say anything. Instead, he stands up and reaches over to a nearby table, pulling over a small piece of wood and holding it out to me. I figured I could pull this one off without too much trouble, so I stared at it for a few seconds, tracing the letters. This is our Bible. Huh? It only takes a few words. Ah, God is love, love is God. This morning, I woke up in the same world I fell asleep in. I'm no longer trapped, passing between universes. Jacqueline is no longer a threat to me. Anton Taylor is going to face retribution for what he's done. If he doesn't at first, well, I'll be there to make sure no one forgets about it until things work out for the better. A jumble of different pieces are finally settled into place, but all of that seems kind of small right now. Ah, that's beautiful. I lean up and give my boyfriend a deep kiss, the soft wooden page speaking for the two of us. This is our Bible. What a beautiful end that is. Refraction. That was a lovely little tale. Not as long as I thought it was going to be, being only 8 days, but it is still a lovely adventure for what it is, and I'd say despite on how long or short a game is, it's the story and the context that counts, but all the static in the the background. That's somewhat mysterious as well. And us just being, well, kind of solemn in that image there while the other two are smiling. But that was a really nice game, and it really puts people into account of like different perceptions in life, you know. One day you could feel like this, but the next day you could feel something entirely different. And you may not know why, or the scientific explanations behind it may not even have any sort of scientific answers to them, but it still holds value into what it is that it is. And the devices are the beach as well, for goodness sakes. We couldn't have made a choice back on the beach, could we? Like, who had the better swimwear? Or maybe that's where the true ending lies, by playing the game somehow. But different perceptions can mean a lot. You have one person who is happy and the other person who is cross. You look similar, but in reality, your traits are very different. Just like with, I don't know, trying to prejudice someone for the way they look, you know. You may think that they look punky or gothic or anything like that, but deep inside, they could have the exact opposite of what you think that they are. So I think this is what this game is trying to convey upon the players, about understanding different people's perceptions. Ah, lovely. And to Jason for being the one. Universe 0. That's a lovely little message at the end there. So the developers' family obviously have really helped them make this game in a supportive measure. These two. Paul. Sorry, June. So that, folks, is it for the moment. And picks here. So we've got a few things left to get through here. So I imagine that one of them is going to be where the office was exploded. And there probably are 6 of 6 locked. Okay. So that one as well. 3 of 6 locked. Ah, they have different variations. So the office one would have a explosion, and the other one would have the choice where you wouldn't pick the well, I picked the more embarrassing option, where I suddenly decided to dive in. I think it was for a kiss. Yeah, there we go. So the other option would be, I've forgotten what the other option was actually, but it was certainly something different, and along a different vein as well. It's really cheeky how these two kind of interact with one another. Blurts out there. One of them there. Oh, that's the phone one. That's really nice. That wasn't shown in the game. And obviously there would be... Oh. Red. Oh, we never got that one actually. Usually we'd only get there if we selected blue, so somehow it accounted for both images. And somehow that also accounted. 9 of 10, 10 of 10, so that would happen if we selected the other option. Okay folks, this is going to be it for the moment of Refraction. We'll be making some different choices, but we'll still be going along the Paul route in the next time. So rather than, let's say, in this option, rather than don't press the switch, in the next time we'll press the switch and see what happens. But thank you all so much for watching. This has been Refraction for the moment, everyone, and see you all in the next time of Refraction. Have a lovely day and take care of yourselves.